So today I want to talk about the dangers to consumers when they're taught to focus in on interest rate and not the all-in true cost of a given loan. And I want to do this video because today I actually had this conversation with a potential client that was being talked into a loan that I think for them would actually end up costing them more, even though it had a lower interest rate and a lower monthly payment. So how can that be true? Well, that's what we're going to review in this video here, and to show you why it is so important for a consumer to find a lender who doesn't just sell rate. I know that we've been taught to think that way when it comes to online and junk mails, that it's rate, that that's all they have to sell. But you really want to find value and service with the lender you're going to work with. Um, and this will help kind of explain one fashion of why that might be true. So in the true cost comparison, what we want to do is we're assuming that the consumer can afford both of these loans, and their main concern is they want to pay the least amount to the lender in fees and interest over the lifetime of the loan. And that's what's really most important to them. And so what you'll see here is that we're going to compare an FHA loan to a conventional loan. And we're going to keep them for apples to apples, both at a 5% down payment. Now, that's just because that way the loan amounts start out the same, and it's the best for an equal comparison, though both these programs offer different lower down payments. So one of the things you want to notice is that this is kind of where the lender was selling the consumer was a much lower interest rate, 6.625% on the FHA compared to 7.375 on a conforming. And when you look at the payment, FHA also has a lower payment, $4,023 compared to $4,265. So why would it be this? Why would this loan make more sense for a consumer, and why would it be something I would want to highlight? Ultimately, the consumer will decide what's most important because perhaps payment is more important than cost. But what we have to look at is while FHA does have a lower interest rate, that program has a FHA funding fee that's 1.75% of the loan amounts. In this scenario here, it's almost $11,000 additional cost on day one that you don't have with the conforming loan. Now, they do allow you to add that into your loan amount, so your cash to close between these two scenarios will stay the same. But this is still a cost that you have, which is really important to take into account, particularly if you think there's a good possibility that you're going to refinance this loan in the future. And so time horizon is a very important thing for us to discuss as well. And you'll see this down below. Now, both these programs had very similar costs on the same day. But the other thing to point out is with this consumer, they had high credit scores, good debt ratios. So the mortgage insurance cost is also a monthly cost of holding this debt. And that's quite a bit lower with conventional. And with FHA, it's higher. Another thing to note is that with FHA, this mortgage insurance, if you did not refinance, is life of loan, whereas on the conventional loan, it is possible to get this removed in as little as 2 years, depending on different situations, but automatically drops off once the principal balance gets down to 78% of the original value. So this is things that we want to take a look into. So when we take a holistic look, let's see what the all-in cost is. We're going to start with a 2-year snapshot. And here in this little tool, you can see how the option 2, which is conforming, is the winner here. It's showing us that the FHA starts out on day one, quite a bit higher cost because of those upfront costs you have. And then over time, when you look at the difference in the interest costs, FHA, lower interest costs than conventional, but higher mortgage insurance costs. And we track that over time, you can see that it starts to narrow, but at year 2, FHA is still actually costing you more. So if you're looking at refinancing at that point, then you've kind of overpaid for your loan potentially here. So looking here at the all-in difference, you can see that the conventional loan is $6,414 better if this consumer was to refinance, do a cash out refi or maybe a rate term refi in the future. Now, if we look at year 4, you'll see that this starts to narrow, and now there's only a $1,400 difference, but still 4 years into it, you're still saving all in about $1,400. And it's not until year 5 that you start to see the switch. And you'll see that we switched over to FHA. Now at FHA, they start to break even. So it's right about that 4.5 year mark, as you can see up here, before FHA benefits. So this is why I think it's really important for consumers to understand the finer cost of a loan. We're in a very high rate environment right now. We do think that rates will trend down over the next 2 years. So again, for this particular consumer who can easily afford both of these options, the higher rate, higher payment will save them money if they actually refinance in less than 4 years. So that's why, again, it's really important for your borrowers, for borrowers to understand that it's not all about rate. If you're put into the lowest rate but the wrong program, you could end up paying more than you really should have otherwise. So I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a wonderful day.